FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
We were rated the worst wrestling promotion year after year by the Wrestling Observer newsletter until Time Warner's WCW was able to wrest that distinction from us by spending millions of dollars producing some of the worst television imaginable. A guy in a chicken suit and El Homo Loco were our biggest stars. We had a Scientologist boy band and a Mexican Viking. People threw tortillas at us. The promoters actually passed them out before the show and encouraged the booze hounds, party girls, and retro hipsters that pressed themselves up against the ring to fling them at the wrestlers. Nobody was supposed to take this seriously. What's more, we all had day jobs. We weren't exactly never-beens or also-rans. Incredibly Strange Wrestling was the hottest show in San Francisco during those years when the 20th century collided into the 21st. We started out in the South of Market club scene and ended up selling out the Fillmore more times than many rock stars. We toured the US and Europe and landed ourselves on TV and in newspapers. Your typical ISW show combined two sets of surreal satire dressed up as masked Mexican wrestling with raucous post-punk sets by bands like the Super Suckers, NoFX, the Dickies, and the Queers. The Donnas once opened for ISW when they were still just fresh-faced schoolgirls from the ritzy suburbs of Palo Alto. After they finished their set of bubblegum arena rock, they had to suffer the indignity of sharing the backstage with a bunch of half-dressed flabby wrestlers. The wrestlers had to strain to avoid leering at so much musical jailbait. At our height, Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day and James Hetfield of Metallica could be seen shouting at ringside. Jello Biafra of the Dead Kennedys often played the part of a bad guy manager, and Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit once even begged to get into our wrestling ring. We made more money than we ever should have from the wrestling show, but we never could have scratched out a living from it in expensive San Francisco, even if we ate at the taco truck every day for the rest of our lives. We all had to be our boring, normal selves most of the time, our livelihoods depending on it. But therein lies the appeal of going utterly bonkers and strutting around the Haight-Ashbury with your mask on and cursing out street kids like you're a mutant hybrid of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rey Mysterio Jr. As Count Dante, I was the deadliest man alive. I owned a mansion and a yacht. I had a kung fu rock and roll success seminar. I could disable any attacker in less than 30 seconds with my killer karate grip. Count Dante didn't default on his student loans or have John Rocker of Rocker Studios confiscate his band equipment for failing to pay the rent for 5 months in a row. Count Dante never had to leave half his dick at the door so he could shelve library books for $8 an hour. But I knew when to leave the Count in the ring or on the rock and roll stage where his penchant for leopard print kimonos and fiery oratory were appropriate. Or at least I thought I did. The rest of the wrestlers had their day jobs too. The Cruiser was a web designer and animator, but he had no problems diving off a 20-foot ladder into a vat of canned chocolate pudding when you put him in front of 1,300 paying customers. El Homo Loco worked for a biotech firm. Super Polga was a school teacher, and El Pollo Diablo, the 8-foot-tall cock from hell, ran a mailroom at a document delivery company. Nobody was supposed to take this shit seriously, but they did.